Hello, everyone. Can you hear us
Hello.
and see us? We are live, I guess. I can see that we already have some viewers, so I'll just wait like a couple of more moments to make sure that everyone is here who want to be here. If you have any problems, please go to our YouTube channel. I've sent you emails with access links yesterday. So, Um, okay, we have some comments. Oh, okay, great. Please keep commenting because your feedbacks means a lot to us. Okay, great. Thank you, girls. Hello. So we can start now, I guess. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Retail Talks. I haven't done it in a while, I guess. So I have to say that I'm all excited about a guest that we have with us today, and of course, my dear colleague that is a master of the fiscal law in France. My name is Milica, and I'm a marketing manager at Fiscal Solutions, and you're today's host. And of course, as I already mentioned, I have two experts with me today. Our first guest is Mitchell Jane, and he's founder and CEO of Re5. Hello, Mitchell. And
Hello, everyone.
okay, and our second guest is Stefan Dietrich. He's my colleague, and he is a legal consultant at Fiscal Solutions. It is a male society for me today. Hello, guys. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, and welcome to Mitchell for joining us for this retail talk.
Thank you, both of you. Also doing quite well here. It's a cold, gray Berlin day, but the energies are good and the topic is exciting. So I'm looking forward to it.
So, Mitchell, you joined us from all the way from the Germany, right?
Yes, all the way from Berlin.
Oh, nice. Hi, Richard. Hi, Nicolina. Great to see you guys. Keep commenting. So I'm really, really excited because we have. I have actually a male company today. It would be nice maybe before we start with the introduction of the topic to introduce yourself. Mitchell, maybe you want to say like a couple of sentences about you, please.
Sure, happy to. So Mithul Jain, as Melitza already introduced me, I'm the founder and CEO of Re5. And at Re5, we basically are in the business of helping retailers convert receipts into a smart touch point with customers in store and use that to actually finally understand in-store customers, capture data about them, and stay in touch with them as easily as you can with e-commerce customers. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. Aside from being obsessed with receipts and retail, I'm really into running, making pizzas, and stand-up comedy.
Great. I didn't know that. That's great. Great. Great introduction. Thank you so much. So you guys know who are you talking with today. And our second guest is Stefan. Stefan, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stefan Dietrich. I'm the legal consultant at Fiscal Solutions. You might recognize me from other retail talks and fiscal talks Milica and I frequently do together. So a somewhat familiar face today, and looking forward to talking about this very important, very topic, especially in France.
Yes, great. So we have more and more comments. Darko, hello. Okay, nice. Darko is also watching from Germany. Nice. Okay, so a few organizational points before we start, and that is we are actually streaming live on LinkedIn and YouTube, and we actually experienced some problems with LinkedIn, so please switch to YouTube if there are any problems. And of course, this live event is being recorded, which is logical, and you will be able to watch it as many times as you like because it will be saved on our Fiscal Solutions profile. Okay, so if we are ready, I'd like to give you a few sentences about fiscal solutions and to make one short announcement, and then we will start. So, Fiscal Solutions is actually a company that works for 19 years now, and we are active in 22 countries. So actually 23 if we count Metaverse as a country, but as we do, so 23 countries actually, yeah. We are working with the biggest international retailers and POS software vendors. So definitely fiscalization is our core business. And I always love to say we are hackers as we keep tracking every fiscal update, changes in fiscal laws, and trying to prepare our clients for it. We have only 4 products, and those who follow our work know exactly what are those. If you don't know, I'll just say that we are providing a whole fiscal journey for you from the very first information up to local support. So if you have any questions, we are here to answer them. Okay, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'd like to make a short announcement. And Mitchell is laughing, he's smiling. What I wanted to say, this event is really exclusive because I have one really explosive info for you, and that is that our middleware is now prepared to help retailers with e-receipts. This guy right here. As you're probably familiar, France is introducing new fiscal law according to the receipts starting January 2023. But it's not just France. It seems like this is the beginning of a whole new trend, so we must follow. So Fiscal Solutions became partners with company Re5, which founder is our today's guest, Mitchell, and we must say that we are really proud of it. What are some new benefits that our clients who are watching us today will have? First of all, when you integrate our solution, our middleware, you automatically have an e-receipt solution. So you don't need 2 different integrations. Second thing, it's one same e-receipt solution in every country we cover. Also fully compliant with GDPR laws in Europe. And the most important, customers are anonymous and they don't need to give any personal info to a retailer or to download any app. You just go to the store shopping, and when you finish, scan the QR code and get e-receipt. Right, Mitchell?
Bingo.
So I said everything right. I didn't make a mistake.
Thank you for listening.
Okay.
That was it.
Okay, great. So
not too much left for me to add. All good.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that you will have something to add because you're definitely expert in e-receipts. So I will let you to add anything you want. But actually, our today's topic is actually France and e-receipts in France, and I also already mentioned it. So as I started with the French law, it would be nice if Stefan, you can give us a reminder what that new law in France says.
Okay, Milica, no problem. So as today we're talking about e-receipts in general, but mainly about their usage in France, it's important to know a little bit about the legal framework for e-receipts in France. So we've been seeing a trend for several years now that a lot of retailers in a lot of European countries are not issuing paper receipts anymore. But because this is France and they always have to go a step further, they're actually banning the systemic printing of receipts, of paper receipts, starting from January 1st of 2023, so very soon. And that is mainly to serve to protect the environment, because more than 10,000 trees are more than 2.5 million trees are cut every year just to be used for paper receipts in France. So with the law on waste management and circular economy, the French government has introduced the ban on printing receipts. And as I said, January 1st, 2023, a date that is fast approaching, there will be no longer printing of cash receipts, of bank slips, tickets issued through vending machines, other vouchers, or promotional tickets. So everything from January 1st will be printed as an e-ticket. I mean, it will not be printed, it will be produced as an e-ticket. So the ban on printing receipts is actually pushed on the European level, but France is the first country to adopt this policy in full. And their goal is, of course, to reduce waste and to decrease overhead costs when it comes to paper receipts. So a single supermarket in France uses about 10,000 rolls of printing paper just for their receipts a year. So you can imagine that costs a lot. And because there will be no more printing of receipts, now a lot of problems are here for retailers, and we are going to address a lot of them today. So, for example, how are e-receipts going to be handled? How are they going to be given to the customers? Processing customer personal data is also problematic when you think about the GDPR. So it's not just the French law we have to think about. There's a much broader context we need to think about, especially when it comes to personal data protection. So the only situation with printing of receipts will remain mandatory is when the product is under warranty, so for electronics mostly, and if the customer asks for it. And every retailer will have to post a sign that receipts are no longer printed and they're being issued as e-tickets unless the customer asks for a printed receipt. So just not to talk too much about the law, but we need to be aware of a few things. So when it comes to the GDPR, e-receipts are mostly handled via email, and collecting customers' emails can be very problematic on many levels. For example, if you have a large business and a large volume of customers circulating through your stores, it will be very hard to collect emails from every and each customer that comes through your doors. Also, if somebody has a complicated name to pronounce or a weird email address, so that creates a lot of problems. So we need to find quicker and better solutions to deliver electronic receipts to our customers, and I think Mito will talk about that in great extent. So whether that's through scanning a QR code, through the NFC, so a way to get the e-receipt to the customers fast, to be legally compliant, and to be something that's very easy for the customers, so they don't have to install any new software, they don't have to make a huge adjustment, because what we want and what most retailers want is to keep things simple and accessible. And not everybody knows how to use every technological advancement. So Mito will tell us more about their solution, what Re5 is doing, and how are they helping curb this problem. Just a few more words about the GDPR, because that is very important when we think about in the context of e-receipts and handling personal data from customers. One of the major problems is when collecting personal data, there is the GDPR, according to GDPR, there is a rule to be forgotten. So if you're collecting email addresses or any other personal data from the customers, if they ask for it, you have to delete their personal data. So apart from implementing this huge change when it comes to issuing receipt, you have to think about how are you going to store that personal data, how are you going to delete it. You have to train your employees to handle claims for data deletion. So there's a lot of steps, a lot of hoops you have to jump through. But when you think about receipt printing, it looks so simple, like, okay, we're not going to print receipts anymore. But in reality, the background is much more complex when you start really thinking about it. One more thing also is that fines under GDPR are pretty high. So everybody needs to be very careful that their e-receipt solution is GDPR compliant and that there are no problems there. Also, an important thing is when collecting customer data, either through their email, loyalty programs, or anything else, if you want to continue using the data for marketing purposes, you have to have a consent from the customers. So it's very important that the marketing consent is separated from other services. So if somebody opts for an electronic receipts, that doesn't mean they consented to marketing at the same time. So that consent has to be separated under GDPR, and that's very important because, like I said, the fines are pretty high if you're not compliant with the GDPR. But I think we will not going to have that problem because Mittel will going to tell us about their solution, which is GDPR compliant. It's, I can
Sorry,
hear you.
I'm muted.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. The most common mistake since Corona started, right? So, yeah. So I must say, you're talking about the new French law, and Mitchell nods and approves everything you say, and I'm like, okay, this is nice. Yeah, so it seems to me that there are quite a few things that need attention when we talk about new French law and in general retailers that have to obey those laws, right? So I think they should find this really, really serious. And thank you for the explanation of the new law. When we say e-receipt, and when we add that e, we always somehow identify it with the electronic, which is true, but even with the smart, right? So, Mittel, because you're an expert in e-receipts. Can you tell us what is the difference between the e-receipt and smart receipt?
Mhm. Absolutely. Thanks for that. Actually, just to add quickly before that, even a couple of thoughts to what Stefan was saying. I thought that was a very helpful summary of the situation in France, and something that we also see happening in more and more countries. Germany, interestingly, a couple of years ago decided to make printing receipts mandatory. So now there's a lot of receipt waste getting created, and there's a lot of discussion around, is that the smartest way to go? And already here in Germany, we're seeing a lot of e-receipts taking over, because retailers themselves realize that issuing receipts doesn't have to become a wasteful, environmentally expensive affair. But then if you look at what's been happening in the past, and often when retailers decide to, let's say, take the shortest route to e-receipts possible, is two things happen. One, you miss a big opportunity to actually build a customer relationship. And then two, like some of the pain points that Stefan pointed out, you're often faced with a solution that isn't actually very customer or cashier friendly, right?
Yep.
So for me, there's sort of two ways to think about receipts, digital receipts, e-receipts. One is the how are we getting them to the customer side, and that's more about the execution. And there are smarter ways to do it than have been done so far. And then the other side is, do we just stop with issuing the receipt, or is this an actually huge opportunity to change how physical retail works, because now we have a digital touch point with customers in store, right? So if we start with the first side, and this is sort of jumping off of where Stefan left off, is you'll often have customers being asked for an email address, or depending on the geography, in the Middle East and Asia, they'll ask you for a phone number. And besides the legal issues that were already pointed out, that that data is not necessarily something that you can actually use. So you're holding all this PII in a system. You can't do much with it, so you can't actually market to those customers. But you still have the huge responsibility of making sure it's safe and protected, and then operating around deleting it and so on and so forth when customers wanted to. But secondly, and there's some data around this from the US. They found that 1/3 of the emails that they capture in these kind of processes are actually wrong. Now, they're either wrong because someone decided to just give someone else's email address at that point of time, just as a prank, or they're wrong because of the classic Starbucks dilemma. If you go to a Starbucks and you say, your name is Mitul or Militsa, you'll probably get a very interesting spelling on your cup.
Yeah.
And I think this is a challenge that retailers also face. And it's fine if your coffee cup has a bad name on it, but if I just spend 500 euros in your store and my receipt ends up with someone else, which means I can't come back for returning it, I can't come back for guarantees in the future, and I don't have that data for example, for my taxes and so on and so forth, I'm in a pretty painful situation as a customer, right? So if we come at it from the customer's perspective, you want to make sure that the issuing is smooth. You want to lower every barrier to my being able to get my receipt. So it should be ideally almost as simple as someone handing me a paper receipt, but better because I can actually do more with it. And it should be something that doesn't take too much of my time, or something that doesn't require me to like yell out my email address to the cashier and God knows how many other people in the line who then maybe decide to send me an email about something that I don't want to read about. And so, when it comes to our view on issuing the digital receipt, We try to make it as frictionless as possible from the perspective of, as a customer, I don't need to sign up for an app. Many retailers will, if they're not doing it by email, ask you to
They're
download
using it.
the app and collect the receipt in the app. You don't need to sign up for an app. You don't need to register. You don't need to provide an email address or phone number or name. The only requirement you have with a solution that's frictionless is you need a smartphone. Why do you need a smartphone? In the end, we're still transmitting digital information. You need a device to collect it onto. And that's how it's happening. The customer is either scanning a QR code and seeing the receipt in the browser, or tapping an NFC chip and again seeing the receipt in the browser, and then having the choice: do I want this in my email? Then I can provide my email. Do I want to just look at this and forget about it and I can just close my browser? Do I want to just download it as a PDF and then have it in my phone for the future?
Sorry for interrupting. I just want to forget how much money I've spent. So no, I don't want to see it.
There you go. So you're going to look at it and then you're going to close the tab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Keep going.
And that's also the chance to make it smart, right? Which is, coming back to your original question, like what's the difference between an e-receipt and a smart receipt? So again, if you think of like when you collect the receipts in the retailer's app, or when retailers send you the receipt via email sometimes, often you're basically just getting a PDF of what you would have gotten on paper anyways, right? Which is fine because at least you have it now digitally stored. But practically as a consumer, it's quite useless because you still need to then enter that data somewhere else. So if I want to track my expenses, I need to then type in whatever was in that PDF in my finance management app. If I want to, share that information with someone, effectively, I'm also sending a PDF somewhere and they need to use it in some way. So I don't actually have that data in any consumable way. And secondly, it's a missed opportunity because you have a digital medium which is known for being interactive. And instead, as a customer, you're getting a static PDF, right? So you can just read that same information and that's it. And so when we talk about smart receipts, what we're talking about is really the opportunity to convert that receipt from a piece of paper that gets thrown away or lost to something digital, but still not that useful, to something that's actually useful both for the customer and for the merchant, right? So if we're sticking with the customer for the time being, it's useful because in a smart receipt, I can have information about the products I bought, right? So if you spend a lot of money on a nice dress, for example, Melitza, but on that receipt you're getting a nice overview of how you can maintain that new dress that you spent so much money on, maybe some suggestions of other accessories that fit well with it, or any sort of other useful product information, that it was produced sustainably, for example, things that you as a consumer care about. That's an opportunity to get more insight into what you're buying, and also an opportunity to learn more about the products you're consuming. And then the third way, it's also a chance, for example, at a product level for the retailer to offer you relevant services. So if I'm buying, €1,000 laptop tomorrow, of course, the cashier can offer me a warranty extension or something like that. But chances are they'll forget. They're trying to do 10 things at the point of sale. They're waiting for the next customer. They're in a rush. But on the e-receipt, on the smart receipt, if I'm offered that within the context, it's an opportunity for me to later decide, actually, I spent all this money. Maybe I spend another €20 and extend my warranty to the next 10 years, right? So as a consumer, I'm
Definitely.
getting more value.
That's what I'll do.
So as a consumer, I'm getting more value. And then as a brand, as a retailer, I'm also creating a lot of value for me as a business, because in the smart receipt, I'm able to collect more information than just an email. So I have the opportunity to give the customer a whole form if I want to say, sign up for a newsletter, collect a marketing opt-in so that I can actually reach them in a healthy way going forward, instead of just having the email and not being able to engage with the customer. But it's also an opportunity to give the customer dynamic offers, right? So when we say dynamic offers, you might see this sometimes in supermarkets. You'll get a bit of a coupon at the end of the receipt, but everyone's getting the same coupon, right? Whether you're a vegan, you're a meat eater, you're someone who's on a healthy diet, you're someone who's buying junk food, you're getting the same coupon for a Ferrero Rocher chocolate next week or something like that. But when you come to a smart medium like a digital receipt that's interactive, that's browser based, or even email based but interactive in nature, that's an opportunity to now give me personalized content, personalized offers that really talk about my needs, my preferences and tastes as a consumer. and actually keep me excited about coming back to the store the next time. And then before, there's a lot more to the smart receipt stuff that we can dive into, but rather than like going super deep in that at the moment and staying on this topic of the old way versus the in-between way of PDFs and emails versus the new way of smart receipts, there's a third party that often gets ignored, and that's the cashiers themselves. These are the frontline warriors, right? They're sitting there every day dealing with customers of all kinds in different moods. And depending on the kind of retailer you're talking about, for example, if it's a supermarket, they're also under a lot of time pressure. And any solution that involves receipts really needs to take into account how much changes for them. And one of the beauties, especially of the partnership we have with Fiscal Solutions, that personally made me very excited about it, is that nothing changes for the cashier. They continue doing business as usual, except they don't spend time replacing paper rolls. They don't spend time handing pieces of paper covered in toxic ink. They're basically just using that as an opportunity to speed up the process and quickly give the customer what they need, and maybe even have some time to actually talk to the customer, which is a lost art of its own.
I'm sorry for
Great, Mitul.
interrupting
Thank
you.
you so much. I just want to add something. I see that we have comments, so please keep commenting. We will try to answer all your questions when we cover all the points we wanted to cover on today's live. Stefan, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to answer Claudio's question. I see that he mentioned that
Please.
he's saying,
Please.
yeah, you can see it in the screen. Because what Mitul is saying, you're not giving away any of your personal data by using Re5 solution. You're just scanning a QR code or tapping the NFC chip, which sends a link to your phone, and you're opening the receipt in the browsers. So you're actually not giving away any personal data. So this solution is already GDPR compliant. If you want to opt in for any additional marketing purposes, you can check the box, which is also GDPR compliant, because as I mentioned when I was talking before about the law, you have to have the consent for marketing purposes separate. And this is very clear because you're ticking a box. On the other hand, if you were giving out your email at the cash register and you have to consent to marketing purposes, that would be really hard. Like, what would you do? You can just tell the cashier, okay, I'm consenting. There's no proof. Or you can fill out a paper form at the cash register, and as Mittel pointed out, there's a million things happening there at the same time. So it will be very hard to service everyone, to keep the situation going if you're going to ask everyone about the consent to sign a special form. So in this way, you're checking a box. You are just a code online. Nobody can see your name or any personal data.
Yes.
But by giving consent, your data can be used further on for marketing purposes. So I hope that answers your question, Claudio.
Yeah, it is. This is really important. Thank you, Stefan, for covering this question. I wanted to ask personally for me, this is really important because I can scan QR code and nothing, or I can still choose if I want to give my email for something. So nobody pushes me in that direction that I have to do something. I don't have to. I just want, or I don't want. I can get my receipt just by scanning the QR code. So this is what is really, really important. Claudia also answered to this. But I think that we have a lot of questions that we need to cover. So Claudia, thank you. Please keep going, keep commenting. So my question would be now, I'd like to get one answer from both points of view, legal and technical. Are there any benefits for retailers when using e-receipts? So what do you actually think about it? Mittul, Stefan, the both of you. Who wants first? Mittul, maybe you?
Sure. I covered some of these earlier, and just to also take Claudio's follow-up in that, I think one way to think about it from a GDPR context as well is it's the difference between I'm sending you a personalized targeted email versus at the point of sale, I'm offering you, hey, do you want with your t-shirt to buy a pair of socks? I'm also doing cross-selling in that, but I don't need to be have a marketing opt-in for that. And we're just moving that interaction from a responsibility for the cashier to something that's in the digital receipt in the browser, and that is anonymous, right? So it's not actually using any sort of forced opt-in from you or anything like that. It's just the same as if today on the paper receipt I put an ad, I'm just doing that in the digital receipt, but I can do that in a much more targeted way based on what you're purchasing versus what the receipt-based coupons on paper receipts tend to do, right? So it's just doing it better, but it's not doing it in a way that requires you to share PII at that point of time.
Yeah.
So that's one way to think about it. And you know, that's also a good segue into the benefits. I think one of the biggest benefits of smart receipts, and you know, again, differentiating between like e-receipts a la PDF or email, and smart receipts as something that's interactive, either browser-based, email-based, or in other channels, is really the ability to provide customers with value on the one hand, and on the other hand, lower the threshold to actually collect customer data and consent in a way that's friendly to the customers, right? So if you think of today's day and age, most people are aware that that their data is being monetized in some way or the other. They're aware that like they're the product. If you think of Facebook and you know, all of these platforms that are using your data, um, and when it comes to retailers, in the past, you had to say, hey, sign up for a loyalty program, fill in this large form at the point of sale, or download our app. And so then we'd like to give you some sort of personalized content or offers and so on and so forth. And with the receipt, we give those same powers and capabilities to the retailer to address customers in a way that's relevant to them in a personalized way, and collect data from customers, but without having the customer to put a lot of that upfront effort, but rather saying, hey, I have my receipt now. I want to receive it via email. And by the way, I like the offers that they've shown me on the receipt. So maybe if I check this box and give them an opt-in, in the future, I'll get more things that are relevant for me. So it's making the relationship between the retailer and the customer digital, in a context where it's very hard to do that digitally normally, because you're in the store, you're buying physical products. And it's doing it in a much more respectful way, both for the customer and a much more, let's say, compelling way for the retailer, because they're really getting the data, the insights, and the opt-in from customers who want to get more.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thank you. Stefan, what do you think about it? What is the
Well, I
benefit? Do
would
you have to?
completely, yes, I would completely agree with Mittal, and I would just add that you're also personalizing the shopping experience even more. That's why people are going to the brick and mortar stores and not just using e-commerce, because that personalized experience. And in this way, you are taking that a step higher. With e-receipts, you're utilizing their every aspect, not just, okay, I'm just sending you this. Because think about paper receipts. Yes, they often do have ads on them. They have some coupons. But what we end up doing, we end up crushing them and throwing them away, or putting them somewhere safe and then forgetting about them forever until we're cleaning our house one spring and we throw away like 100 receipts. So we're just using something that's already there, but giving it a new purpose, a new life. Let's say it
Yeah.
like that. Um, Also, you know, we're also meeting customer expectations, because many customers are eco-friendly and very aware of the impact on the environment, and they are expecting for you to cut your CO2 emissions, to cut your paper waste as a company. So that's also beneficial for you as a brand. Like, look at us, we are, you know, participating in this eco-friendly activity. We're not printing receipts anymore, so it can also be beneficial for a company as a brand. Tie into that, you're saving on operating costs because you're not buying printing paper, you're not servicing printers, you're not buying, you know, anything related to printing paper and printers. We also mentioned like there's better data collection, using the loyalty tool to track, you know, purchasing patterns, to understand them better, to offer personalized ads and personalized marketing actions. So there's a lot of benefits that tie in one into another that help this experience be better for the consumer and for the retailer as well.
Yeah, we actually didn't cover a lot that green thing, but definitely one of the biggest how I should say benefits, because definitely everyone has a battle on the market. huge international retailers definitely are having a battle on the market. And when one leading retailer does that, you have to follow, so if you want to be competitive. Okay, great. Thank you so much for this. So my question would be for Mitchell. I mean, we are all customers, right? I guess that we can all answer to this, but I'd like to hear from you, as you're really expert in this area. How do customers typically react to e-receipts? How does that affect their shopping experience?
Yep. So traditionally, what we saw with a lot of the retailers we work with is when they were offering e-receipts via email, there was a lot of resistance from customers, right? So cashier would offer the customer, hey, would you like this via email? Customer say, no, just give it to me printed out. I don't want you to send this to me via email afterwards. Again, because they're in a hurry to leave, they want to sort of get on with their life. With the approach we've been taking with the QR codes and the NFCs and so on and so forth is we're seeing three things happening. One, we're seeing an increase in acceptance from the customers. I think it also helps because customers got very friendly with QR codes through the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I think, scanning a QR code quickly, everyone has a smartphone nowadays. That means that people are much more willing to take the receipt like that. Second thing, there's a certain level of delight. So what we see is more than 80% of the customers taking a digital receipt will interact with it in some way, whether that's providing feedback to the merchant or clicking on one of the offers or, looking at some information on the product that they've purchased. So there's this sort of, I like to think of it as like an unboxing experience that you start creating, kind of like when you open, an Apple box, and there's an experience around that. And you're giving your customers like a little digital experience at the end of their purchase, right? And this also speaks to Stefan's point earlier, where we talk about how this thing that normally gets wasted becomes an opportunity. We really think of it as the journey normally ends at the store. The last interaction you have with the store is getting the receipt, and then you walk out, and that's it. Then your relationship is kind of over with that store for that time being. But when you're taking this digitally, you actually have the opportunity to continue that journey in a digital world between the customer and the merchant. And customers also appreciate that because they then go back to that as an opportunity to say, oh, I wanted to know some more information about the product I bought. I wanted to get back in touch with the retailer because I had a question about the product, or I wanted to do a return, and so on and so forth. And having that comfort of having this in their inbox or in their phone is something that, from also the questions we've done with end customers who are using the product, have been very positive. There's obviously like practical reasons why customers really like it. If you're someone who travels a lot for business, there's a huge pain point where at the end of a business trip, you walk home with a stack of receipts like this that you then need to submit for expenses to the accounting department. And no one is enjoying that experience. Now you convert this to email. It's slightly better because you have it in your email. You make it into a digital receipt where that data can also easily be extracted and consumed by an accounting software. Now you've created a great experience for the customer because they can sort of be relaxed and know that, okay, I've bought something today while on a business trip, some lunch, some groceries, whatever it is. And I know that it'll be much easier for me to claim those expenses back from the company. So to sum it up, I think uptake is really good. We see, depending on the sector, between 50 and 70% of customers actually choosing the digital receipt over a paper receipt. And then from those, up to a third providing opt-ins as well for future communication, which means they're signaling that they want to know more. And like I mentioned earlier, more than 80% of customers interacting with some element or the other of the receipt, showing that they're actually enjoying this experience, this interaction.
Great, Mitchell. Thank you. Thank you for the detailed answers. So one thing that I noticed while you were talking, actually with this, we are like connecting a physical and digital world of shopping, right? So like we are collecting everything, every single experience as a customers, and we have it in one. So I mean, we live in a world where digitalization is everything. So I think this is definitely a huge thing, and there is a lot of benefits. Okay, we have some questions. Maybe we want to answer them. Stefan, did you saw it?
We
Mitul,
have a question
Christopher?
from Christopher. He's asking about, yeah, sorry, Melissa, for talking over you. He's asking
No,
about
please.
what about the card payments? So, by some estimations, more than 60% of all payments are done via card in France. So, this is something definitely to think about, how we are avoiding that bank slip that comes out of the EFT terminal. Basically, like retailers, everyone will have to adapt their business to this new regulation. There will probably be another option when you're paying by card. So, for example, it's a touchless terminal. You just put your card there, and they will get a prompt asking you whether you want to print a receipt or you don't want to print a receipt from the bank slip, not the sales receipt, but the bank slip. So you can also choose not to print the bank slip, because this new regulation also involves, when you're withdrawing money from the ATMs, other bank slips, vouchers, promotional tickets, so not just sales receipt. So here we'll have a situation where banks will also have to adapt their business, and they'll have to find their own solution to how to approach this new regulation. So for now, what we can see is that you will have the option to not print the bank slip at all when you're paying by card, because you already have your bank statements that come to your phone anyway, so you don't really need a bank slip.
Yeah, maybe to add quickly to that, what we're seeing
Yeah.
more and more is that a lot of the point of sales are also now supporting including the EFT receipt directly onto the main receipt. So that's something that already in some geographies we include in the smart receipt itself. So, it's tucked away as an additional piece of information. Customers can access it if they want to, and that data is made available to them in that as well. And then by default, it's not getting printed out from the payment terminal anymore. But that's more of a step that needs to happen and is increasingly happening, of integration between the payment providers, the payment terminal providers, and the point of sale systems. But as far as the possibility goes that exists, I think to the legal possibility of doing that, probably Stefan has more insight. But at least in Germany, we're pretty sure that that's not been an issue to include that with the main receipt.
Absolutely.
I hope, Christopher, that you're satisfied with the answers. And thank you for the question. If anyone has any more questions, I'm saying once again, please feel free to type in a chat. So I have one more question for both of you. Mitchell, maybe to continue, because you were talking just a few moments ago, to tell us more about how it all works and how the receipt is used for data capture.
Sure. So, as I mentioned, we really try to make sure that the customer doesn't feel forced to share anything they don't want to share. That paradigm doesn't work in today's age. So if you imagine the journey, the customer is scanning a QR code or touching an NFC tag in their browser through a link, or digital receipt is opening. And that's sort of the point where there's a few options the customer has. On the one hand, we are identifying them anonymously through an anonymous ID, associating all the transaction data to that anonymous ID. And every time the customer revisits the same store, we can sort of link that ID to multiple transactions without attaching any personal information to it. So it's equivalent to some sort of anonymous profile. And that's sort of the first level of data capture we enable. So if you think about it, in the past, if a customer walked into my store today and came back 2 weeks later, if I didn't ask them, if I didn't know, if my cashiers were not very aware or they were not loyalty members, I wouldn't actually know that this is the second, third, fourth, or fifth visit of this customer. So that's the first level of data capture we solve, in that we're anonymously tracking customers across multiple visits and helping the retailer understand, okay, this customer has now been in the store this many times. This is their lifetime value. This is sort of their behavior so far. And that's sort of the first level of data captured, down to the line items they purchase. The second is the more consented layer. And this is where the customer is saying, I'm providing my email to receive the receipt, but I'd also like to opt in for future communications. So that's when we're capturing contact data and marketing opt-ins, which we then also deliver straight into the CRM of the merchants we work with, in order for them to activate it after that. And then the third is sort of the more behavioral data. which can be either anonymous or, again, tied to this ID and the opt-in that we mentioned. And that's things like what offers are they interacting with on the receipts? What kind of feedback are they giving? So as a customer, I have the ability on the receipt to provide a feedback to my shopping experience. And then it also stretches to post-purchase, because if the customer claims the receipt via email, in that email receipt, we're also asking them questions about the products they purchased. So they have the option again at that point to say, a week after I bought it, I can go back and, give a feedback to the retailer and say, by the way, these pair of shoes, you're selling them as a 42, but they don't seem to fit me so well as a 42, right? And that sort of level of detailed feedback data is something we also help the retailers capture. And to keep in mind that like capturing all this data has been ridiculously hard in the physical store concept in the past, right? Like getting customer contact details, knowing how they found the shopping experience. Retailers spend millions every year on mystery shopping for this exact reason, because they want someone to go in and act like a real customer and share, the data of how that experience was. But here, getting that as real data from the customers. And so, yeah, that's sort of like some of the ways in which the receipt can be used to capture data about in-store customers. And also to increase the data you can capture, we also make it possible for the retailer to incentivize the customer to share more. So let's say you have a customer who's visited anonymously 5 times, they've never shared an email, but we understood something about their behavior by then. We can show them an offer saying, you seem to like organic cheese. Here's a €5 discount for this very nice organic cheese if you share an email address, for example. So there you have the ability to then provide the right incentive to the customer to encourage them to share even more data, but doing that again within that easy context where they don't have to do all that upfront effort as they did in the past.
Great. Thank you. I'd like to say I see it like you don't misuse the datas, but you still can have some insights, and you can really do a real important job about the customers. So it's really, really significant, and thank you, Mittal, so much for the answers and for being here with us. It's really great to have you. I'd like, if you agree with me, like the both of you, what do you think? What is the situation on the market? So, Stefan, you are a consultant and you are offering consultancies for international companies. So how would you describe the situation? Are traders taking this seriously? Are they preparing? I mean, the January is in 1 month, and France is serious. I mean, French government. So I'd like to hear more about it.
Yes, Melissa. Well, we have to understand that this situation and this change is here to stay. It's not like a passing fad and we're going to switch back to to printed receipts in a month or something like that. This is happening. Okay, we're talking about France now, but this is spreading all across Europe, all across EU for now. So this is a trend that's been brewing in the background for a long time, and now it's come to the forefront, first in France, and we'll see where it takes us later. So that's something that retailers should take very seriously. It's not, I think a lot of them are thinking about this as a burden. Another thing we have to do to be compliant, another thing we have to change, again, with the changes in the law regarding the operation of the POS and so on. But exactly, we should look at it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to use something that's already here, something that's been developed for a long time, and something we can use to, circle back and make, a great experience for the customer, something that's easy, accessible. They don't have to do anything. It's already there in their hands. And also on the side of the retailer, it's something that we can use for more things than it seems at first glance. So we can use this opportunity, this law change, to better our business, to better understand our customer behavior, to provide, specialized, personalized shopping experience, to carve out a bigger piece of the market for us. So I would like if we would look at the situation as an opportunity, not as a burden. And in that way, we can grow better, we can grow together, which is very important. And that's why we're all excited for this cooperation with Re5. I think this is a huge step forward in the area of fiscalization and in the area of e-receipts. We're beginning in France, but hopefully will spread further. So I think a lot of retailers are now applying quick fix ways because January 1st is very close, and they're just looking to get done with it, to find a solution that is just working. It doesn't matter how, and then later we're gonna see how we're gonna adapt. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to find a quick fix. You don't have to skirt around the regulation just to get by. You can look at this as an opportunity and use it for your benefit. Use it to attract more customers and to give them something of value that's not available in every retail store, but it is available in your stores. So, looking at this, looking at the future, and not just finding quick solutions, but actually working together to see what your customers want, meeting their needs, and adapting to the ever-changing market as fast as you can and in the best way possible for you and your customers. I think that's a mindset we should adapt, and it goes hand to hand with a lot of what Mitchell had to say and what we are doing at Fiscal Solutions. So hopefully others will see it also as an opportunity and as a way forward. And as Richard said in the comments, this is the future, and we are here to witness it.
And the future is now. The future is now,
right.
which is really important. And I like this comment in Japan during the 2020 Olympics. The government required all vendors to send digital receipts, which is nice information. I actually didn't know that. So thank you, Richard, for sharing this information with us. I must say, Serbia, for example, and other countries has almost changed the fiscal laws, right? But they I think that they didn't think about the e-receipts, and I really think that they should. I really think that they should.
They always think about them as something additional, as an add-on, something that you might use, but you're not really going to use. It's usually associated with e-commerce and not really with brick and mortar stores. So here we have this opportunity.
Yeah, please continue. Sorry.
Okay.
I
just wanted to say that we have this opportunity to expand.
Yeah, and I wanted to say,
Sorry,
the whole planet is going green, the whole planet is going green. Absolutely. Why shouldn't we? And this really should be the main thing, the main fiscal law change that we should do. Definitely. Mitchell, please, what do you think about the situation on the market? I mean, you are producing e-receipt solutions, so how is the situation? How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I can only echo a lot of what Stefan said. The way we see the market is kind of divided into three players, right? You have the ones who are seeing this as a necessary evil. They need to do something to fulfill requirements and comply with regulations. And they're happy to do the bare minimum to make that happen. I might be a bit biased, but I think those are the ones who lose out long term. Then you have the ones who understand that this is a massive opportunity, right? So if you think of the retail world, of course, e-commerce has been growing in the last years, but 80% of retail still happens in physical stores. And those physical store customers are very hard to address and reach and target after they leave the store. So it's almost like this law is giving in a basket an opportunity to retailers to say, engage with these customers digitally, now's your chance. And so you have the second column of retailers who get that, who are seeing this as a huge opportunity and who are putting a lot of effort into that. And I think if you look at the retail market in like 10, 15 years, it's those kind of players who see these chances early and act on them that will be on top of the market, because they finally realize that we can now engage with our in-store customers the same way as online customers. And the third player that I like to think about that often gets ignored when we talk about retailers, and especially us as service providers, is the consumer, right? I think the consumer has long wanted to solve this problem. No one wants to carry paper receipts around with them. And of course, the environmental aspect is one thing, but also just the practicality of it. And I think as this spreads, maybe driven initially by legislation / the pioneers who want to do more, I think over time, it's just going to be a hygiene factor, a basic requirement that customers are going to expect. Just as they expect to pay with card in stores nowadays, they're going to expect that they're going to get their receipt digitally. They're not going to want to go into a store, have a great shopping experience, and then leave with a toxic piece of paper after that. So I think we're going to see the consumers driving the market forward as well.
Definitely. I can totally agree. But they are like always waiting for the last minute, right? We can't help it. But okay, we are here to help. We actually came to an end. And thank you guys so much. I had really great time. I can see that we had a lot of people who were watching this live. If you have any questions, feel free to ask anyone from the three of us, Mitul, me, or Stefan, or of course, you can contact marketing@fiscal-solutions.com and we will answer all your questions. Before we finish, I'd like to invite you to our next retail talks, which will be on the 20th of December. It's upcoming trends in retail 2023. So it will be held by our CEO and marketing manager. So stay with us. Thanks once again for watching. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We are here to answer to them. Mitul, Stefan, thank you so much. You were great speakers and great guests. Richard says, oh no, keep going. Richard, thank you so much. Maybe you want to say something to the audience? Mitul.
I think just to wrap it up, I think we covered a lot of important topics today. There's the legal requirement, there's our responsibility to the environment, and more than anything, as a retailer, there's the chance to get to know all of those customers walking in and out of the store and use that to create a personal experience that customers know and like from the online world in the physical world. So again, color me biased, but I think it's a huge opportunity that no one should miss out on. And the cost and the effort of it, both from a change perspective, from a technology perspective, and also from an effort perspective, is very low. So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for the clarification of a lot of things here. I think it was really, really significant. And it was all for free. So thank you once again. Stefan, maybe you want to add something?
Yeah, well, thank you, Mitul, for coming to talk to us. This was very insightful. It was great to hear, things from your perspective, how you see this change, this opportunity, to call it better like that. And to everyone watching, also thank you for watching. Hopefully we'll get to talk more about this subject. Feel free to write to us and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. This is something I want to say is that, as we also discussed, that this opportunity shouldn't be missed. I think that in life you're always sorry you didn't jump on an opportunity. This is the same situation. So, don't miss an opportunity. That's what I'm going to close with.
Where there is fiscalization, we are there also. So thank you once again, and until next time. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.